Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to get my picture taken. I don't want to be on Jan's bad side. Some more one-liners from several football coaches. Barry Wormuth from Minnesota said years ago, if lessons are learned in defeat, our team is getting a great education. Michigan State coach Duffy Daugherty jokingly said, I could have been a Rhodes Scholar if it hadn't been for my grades. John McKay said, if you have everyone back from a team that's lost 10 games, experience isn't too important. And when asked about his team's execution, Coach McKay said, I'm in favor of it. And finally, legendary Notre Dame coach Knute Rockne said, I find that prayers work best when you have big players. Football enthusiasts know that no team necessarily wants to be in a third and long situation. Third down and 9 yards is certainly not ideal. Third and 1 sounds a lot better. So does third and 2, and so does third and 3. And what you really don't want is a third and, say, 15 or a third and 20. But as many know, with the game of football, stuff happens. A quarterback gets sacked, running back gets tackled in the backfield, wide receiver drops the ball that perhaps he should have caught. The ground game has difficulty penetrating the defensive line, and before a team knows it, it's faced with a less than optimum situation, not to mention a challenging situation. Now we know that in life, stuff happens too. It has its own way of presenting us with third and long scenarios, just as the coordinator and the coach strategize the next play to get the team out of the third and long hole, and the team huddles to learn and to execute the plan. So do you and I similarly devise plans to help us rise up out of the deficits in which we find ourselves. Sometimes the plan is successful, other times it's unsuccessful, but we are to remain undeterred in our search for the right plan and the right attitude. And wouldn't it be nice if one didn't have to worry about the third and longs of life, and that the first downs actually came on the first downs instead of later in the possession? The reading from the book of Acts this morning by Jan was much more than a third and long situation for the apostle Peter. It was like third and goal from his own 1 yard line. Seemingly impossible for him to come out of his predicament alive. Another apostle, James, had just been executed by the unpredictable and very unbalanced King Herod, and Peter was shackled in a Roman prison with no hope of justice or escape. And just before Herod was to humiliate Peter in front of his fellow Jews who wanted his neck and his life, the chains miraculously fell from his hands, and he walked out of prison, and he returned to his fellow disciples and his friends who had given up on his return. No way in their minds was a first down possible. No way in their minds did they ever think they'd see Peter again. Now, faith played every role in every part of Peter's undaunted determination to see beyond his prison walls to a joyful reunion with his Christian brethren. Many have heard the story of the prodigal many times. A portion of it, again, read by Jan this morning. The story normally focuses on the father's forgiveness, receiving his son back into the family fold after years of wasteful and riotous living. But perhaps not enough attention is given to the son's predicament. Although he has made his own bed and he has to lie in it, he still has to figure out a way to return home in uncharacteristic sackcloth and ashes, finding himself reduced to the level of eating with the swine, and then not knowing what to expect in his father's unexpected and gracious response. Again, it was much more than third and 9. It was more like third and 50. But someone had to make the first move. Someone had to take the first step. And it was a young man, and even though he had a place to return, while many of his contemporaries had nowhere near the conditions and advantages from whence he came, he still had to pick himself up from off the ground and come face to face with his father. That would have been a tough assignment. I remember one of my college summers, my father loaning me his brand new Dodge car to drive to St. Louis, from Detroit to St. Louis to visit some of my college friends. I hadn't been there 60 minutes when I smashed it up at an intersection. Now you talk about third and long. I just couldn't wait for that conversation. You know, life has its way of presenting third and long situations to each and every one of us, whether it be in terms of the emotional or health or career or spiritual. You know, in the aftermath of the devastating earthquake in Italy, one of the victims interviewed a young man said, "There is no God. There can't be a God if this happened." One father whose son was lost while vacationing at his family's vacation home in one of the stricken towns said, "I cannot find the words to describe the grief of a father." Perhaps there are no words. You talk about a third and long. Where does one gain the strength to move forward, to rebuild faith and hope, to rebuild from the rubble? Now, although the Shepherd's Psalm, Psalm 23, is the best-known psalm, is repeated many times, its words pack a powerful message of hope, especially at the end. It's not just a sentimental song, but a real-life one with real consequences. You know, David, struggling to keep his own life afloat, from the losses of his two sons, to his family falling apart, the threats closing in on his kingdom from every side, he still writes these words: "Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I will fear no evil. For thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely, surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the rest of the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." One of my favorite books is Ernest Hemingway's Old Man and the Sea, The Old Man and the Sea. A story about one man's desperation to catch a fish. He's gone 84 days without catching one. So every day has become a third and long. He fights against insuperable odds to reel in this giant marlin. Finally catches it, but the sharks devour it before he can get back to shore. The novel has many Christian implications, with the image of the suffering servant and the man's insistence on staying the course without any trace of wanting another person's sympathy. At one point in the story, the old man says, "Now is no time to think of what you do not have. Think of what you can do with what there is." You know, often we can dismiss too quickly the strengths and the gifts that God has given us. The common man, Peter, a simple fisherman, now a follower of Jesus Christ, thrust into the role of being one of Christianity's last hopes, detained in a Roman prison on the brink of death. Who would have ever guessed that Peter would have risen to the occasion of lasting as long as he did before his own martyrdom? Or the story of the prodigal who took what he had, and that was just his two legs. He walked back to reintroduce himself to the family's ideals and values, which he had so swiftly abandoned. Think of what you can do with what there is. few days ago, I was reading about a young football running back named James Conner from Erie, Pennsylvania, the 2014 Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Year from the University of Pittsburgh, at that time earning him a place on the Heisman Trophy watch. But in a season opener last year, he sustained a season-ending knee injury. And in the ensuing months, James had developed a bad cough and severe night sweats, and a visit to the doctor eventually revealed a large cancerous mass in his upper torso, ending with a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Physicians told him that his success rate for recovery was good, but to please stay off Google so he wouldn't worry about it too much. And then James added, persevere, thrive on adversity. I chose not to fear cancer. I will play football again. Now, perhaps coming from an environment where his 4 older brothers one time put him in the family's dryer and turned it on, perhaps this toughened him up a little bit, nothing like brotherly love. But throughout all of this, James Conner discovered something in himself that perhaps he didn't think he already had. While in the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Center, he was not only ministered to, but he ministered to others. Said his oncologist, for the patients he got to know, he was really an inspiration, and he helped them get through some of their darkest times. That really impressed me about the kid. That's not the way I would have expected him to behave. Perhaps James reaching out to others accelerated his own healing as he is ready to play in Pitt's season opener next weekend. He said, I decided to make the most out of this situation, make the good bigger than the bad. Facing third and long with faith can pull resources from you that you never thought you had. The loss of a loved one, the uncertainty of your own vocational future, questions about how do I find meaning and purpose in my retirement, health issues and challenges, relationship problems, family issues and questions, choices that can dramatically alter the course of your life. How will you respond on your own third and long? The movie clip we saw at the beginning of the service was from the film Friday Night Lights, the story of one Texas high school football team's quest for the state championship, making it to the final game only to narrowly lose. Coach tells the player at halftime, as you heard, to look at each other in the eyes, and to say to themselves that they did everything they could. There wasn't one more thing they couldn't have done. Can you live in that moment, he said, with clear eyes? Can you live in that moment with love in your heart, with joy in your heart? You know, I can't help but think that the early disciples, including Peter, in all their adversity and persecution, the only thing that got them through every day of their life, the only thing, was the joy and love of Christ in their hearts. When you have the love and joy of Christ in your heart, you become a different person. You do. You look at life differently. Your third and longs turn into challenges and opportunities and not problems. You view life optimistically and not pessimistically. You see life as an opportunity to live abundantly. You look at life more from the perspective of what I can do, more from the perspective of what I can do to help others, and less from the perspective of what others can do for you. You see life in eternal terms and not in temporal terms. The glass is half full, not half empty. The impossible becomes the possible. You know, we can be reminded of this in dramatic ways, realizing that the discovery of his association with the July 20th, 1944 plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler, dramatized by the 2008 film Valkyrie. Realizing this squashed any hope for his escaping death German pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer, while in prison, he penned this note to his fiancée. He said, "My past is brim full of God's goodness, and my sins are covered by the forgiving love of Christ crucified. I am most thankful for the people I have met, and I only hope that they will never have to grieve for me, but that they too will always be certain of and thankful for God's mercy and forgiveness." There was joy in his heart, you see. Facing a third and long, let the love and the joy of Christ